It's interesting for me to find people between the age of 25 years old to 35 years old already with one divorce. Male, female, broken families, kids in between.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Stories with Richie, and today we have a special guest, my dear brother, friend, Erick Benjamin Sede Eduardo. Welcome to Stories with Richie.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here.
I'm very happy and excited that you're here, and we grew up together, and I learned a lot. We have a lot of good memories.
Yes, indeed.
I'm very happy that you're here today to talk with us. Welcome, straight from the DR, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I have been in the States for the last 72 hours, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. So, who is Erick Benjamin Sede Eduardo?
As my Facebook state, I am a human being. My ancestors were brought as a slave 500 years ago to the island La Hispaniola. They were brought from Africa to La Hispaniola to work in the sugar mills and so forth. And 100 years ago, my great-grandparents moved from Haiti in the west side of the island to the east side of the island, where is the Dominican Republic, pursuing the Dominican dream. They realized that they needed new opportunities, and they went to work. And one of my great-grandmother, her name was Flora. My dad was just telling me how she paid her taxes, and she did her best to remain rightful before the law of the Dominican Republic. And there my grandpa was born, 80-something years ago. He was born in the DR, and then 3 generations has come and have been born and raised in the Dominican Republic. And I get to be one of them. Proud Dominican, proud Haitian descendant, proud African descendant, proud human being. So that's who I am. And they went to work in the sugar mills. They were cutting cane and peeling it, and they were making what people are making right now, like $10 a day for 12 hours of labor. Very, very hard. So that's where I'm coming from. That's who I am. That really has a tremendous impact in the way I live and work and do everything in life.
Wow. So what do you do? What is your dedication?
I'm a pastor. I'm a missionary. I'm a leader. I'm a servant and a husband. I'm going to be a dad.
It's exciting.
Yeah, indeed. I'm a lover of life, and my specialty is in youth ministry. I am an expert in guiding, providing hope, perspective, clarity, direction to young people and their parents. I help them to rediscover a new path forward, and that's what I do, what I love to do. I speak.
Dominican Republic. You grew up there, born and raised. Tell me more about your experience living in that country.
It's been a blessing. It's been just an outstanding blessing. The Dominican people, we are a community. Like there is that sense of community, and people look after each other. We help each other a lot, and the experience has been phenomenal. Obviously, from a biblical perspective, we are all sinful people in need of a savior, and we do crazy stuff, and there's challenges and discrimination and racism and all stuff that are common to people from everywhere. So a couple of years, several years, maybe 4 years ago, I was in Taiwan, and I was the only black person on the streets of Taiwan. I stayed there for 2 weeks, and I only saw 3 other black people. And I met a couple of young people from Indonesia, and they had little English. I have a little English, and we were able to communicate in our little English, and they called me brother, like right there. and they were telling me about their struggles as an immigrant from Indonesia to Taiwan and the discrimination that they experience. And I was able to realize that that was a common there is something deeper there, because over there they also experience the same thing that I experience sometimes in my own country or where I'm here in the United States. So it's just that, and then the Dominican people are just awesome people. I love it. I love them, and I'm pretty proud to be a Dominican, and to be able to just to see people laughing, but also supporting each other in the midst of difficulties and in the midst of challenges. It's beautiful. We don't use GPS a lot there.
How do you guys commute? Like, how do you guys go around then?
Oh yeah, Richie. What are you talking about? That's the joke. That's the joke. I'm just kidding you. Yeah, we use a lot of motorconcho, right? The drivers and the motor, todo eso. But we don't use the GPS all the time, so it's very common that you will ask somebody like, "Hey, how do I get somewhere else?" And then they say, "You see that tree over there? 3 houses over to the left, and then to the right, you see an old lady over there? This is not where I live. I live actually behind the big tree of mangoes, and there are plenty over there." So it's just, but again, you get that human connection, that interaction with the people, which is overwhelming, and just
Did you ever play baseball?
Oh, yes. I did one tryout for the Atlanta Brave.
Yes.
And that was a wonderful experience, but I was not as talented as my brothers, who were able to get schooling through baseball. So they were awesome. I was not that great. I was a good coach, though.
Coach?
Yes.
I was like 9 years old?
Yeah, you were.
Something like that?
Yeah, you were 9 years old, and I was your coach. I was only 16 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. You're a good player.
Oh, I'll learn from the coach.
Yeah.
Erick Benjamin Sede, I wonder, what does human connection means to you?
Human connection is the opportunity we get to experience other human beings and being able to be in proximity and be able to collaborate each other. And the realization that we are not that poor that we don't have anything to give away. And we are not that wealthy that we don't need anything from anybody. And then coming together on the basis of humanity, on the basis that we are human beings created in the image of God, and therefore we have something that we can bring to the table, and we can come together and both share, regardless of ethnicity, background, political view, sexual orientation, and any other of those. Just understanding that we are human beings created in the image of God, and therefore we are able to come into proximity and be a source of help and support to one another. I think that is just the most important aspect of human connection, is that opportunity we get to be in proximity with other human beings.
How do you see that working in your life?
Wow. Wow. I see it right now. I see it right now being in conversation with you. If I can share, like, recently you were in the DR, and my wife, Fabiola, which I love you, honey, and my wife, Fabiola, and I were able to host you, and you and your wife, Mariah, were able to be in our place. And we were able to come together and talk openly about life and what was going on, that was going great, what was not going that great. And we were able to interact. And I think that was phenomenal. So I see that human connections is happening with family. That's very, very important to me. With my parents, I talk to them a lot, very frequently. And with my friends, I reach out to them. The Lord gave me an idea a couple of years ago to make a list of my friends and call each one of them once a week. And then Thursday night, I try to set up a part-time to reach out to my friends. And it's overwhelming to hear my friends reacting to a call where it's unexpected and I'm not asking them for a loan or something like that. It's just calling them because I just want to know what's going on with them. And in the community where I live in Jarabacoa in the Dominican Republic, I have experienced the connection with the people, and they care about me. And I go to their places. They offer me coffee. I drink coffee. I talk to my friends, and I spend hours talking and getting to understand what's going on with them, but also in my journey of somehow supporting them, they support me. And I think that, it's there. It's working there for me. It's working in my wife and my surrounded, like the people who are close to me, and my family and friends and co-workers and ministry partners and so forth.
Can you give me like an example that you've seen human connections working on other people's lives?
Well, I might give you one in a negative way, and the one I'm going to give you in a positive way.
Okay.
There is a phrase, that is very common that says, it takes a village to raise a child. Sometimes we are, me, myself, and I, and we tend to have that mindset. There are many people in the audience that agree with me, that agree with that statement, I would say. Me, myself, and I are my best friends. And I have seen that for parents, for instance, it's important that they are able to build a village around their child, for their child to be able to grow into a responsible adult. Single mom, single parenting is not as effective as a whole family.
Tell me more about that.
Well, in the human connection that I'm talking about, I am inviting people to live life in a community, not to do solo, but do it in a community. There is an African saying for an African descendant, so that sounds great. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, let's go together. And I think that the example in a negative way is that many kids, teenagers, and young adults, they get in trouble because they are trying to go through life by themselves. They don't want to listen to their parents. They don't want to listen to their mentors. They don't even know what a mentor means. They don't have a village. They don't have a community. They are doing it. They feel like they are the king and the queens of their own life, and they are the architects of their own destiny. So the mindset that is really affecting, in my opinion, the American culture, and it's a spread throughout the world because of the influence of the United States, is this. I find out what is that I want to do. I embrace that, and I don't let anybody else to define who I am, and I will prove everybody else wrong because I am able to accomplish whatever I set my mind on. And that is not true. Because the truth of the matter is that there are so many things that we cannot control. I feel like preaching right now. So there are so many things, so many variants into real life. And when we attempt to do it by ourselves, that's when depression, anxiety, all those type of things kick in, because we don't have a support system. We don't have a network. We are just doing by ourselves. And here's the funny part. When you are flying solo, you feel like you are a failure, you're miserable because you cannot make it, and you feel like you are so loser that it's not even funny, and you just get into that mode, and you think that you are the only person out of the 8 billion people on planet Earth, you're the only one who's going through that. Let's imagine you're doing your marriage. So you're struggling with your wife or your husband, whatever, and you are having a hard time, but you don't have a friend. You don't have a community. You don't have people to go to. You feel like your marriage, it's not going to make it.
Yeah, like
And you feel like we are the worst couple ever. I'm the worst husband ever. I'm the worst wife ever. And I'm just this mindset because you're doing it by yourself. But when you get out there and you reach out to your community and you share with them what's going on, and they tell you, you know what? I've been married for 20 years with Johnny. I've been in 20 years with Susan, and man, we struggled through that. And you look at them and say, wow, really?
how do you guys do it?
Oh, yeah.
What's the formula?
Well, let me tell you what works for us. Yes, honey. Yes, honey. That was, and then when that happens, you went home and you say, honey, I think that actually there is opportunity for us to grow here. Actually, we are not the only one struggling through that. So I think that when people go along, is a disadvantage for them. I mean, that's an approach, and there are many people taking it. I'm not recommending that because that doesn't work in the long term. We were created to be in community. I've been listening lately, people speak about the Trinity and how God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, they're working together. And even there, God himself, it's not a God that do it by himself. You know
We're talking about creation. That's really good. Good example. I like the idea of having people. I like how you have, your friends support. On Thursdays, you call your friends. You let them know what's going on. And because you're applying what you believe is right. You need people.
Yeah, and it's hard nowadays because we are so busy being busy. We are doing so many things. We are so busy that we don't got time for that. And we don't see the value because, when you are making, I don't know how much you make an hour, but you can imagine that if you take half an hour to call your friends, you are not making money. So that might means that you're wasting your money. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there needs to be a revival, a shift in the mindset to believe that friendships are important. It's one of the support of real life. You cannot go by yourself. Yeah. You cannot. And the relationship with the couples, like I have seen brother. Oh my gosh! Let me tell you this, guys. I just came to the state 72 hours ago, and I have been in 4 states already. Okay. Been flying a lot, and interesting enough, I have had conversations with people along the ways. Several flights to get here from the DR. We are in Oregon, guys. Just let you know, and it's interesting for me to find people between the age of 25 years old to 35 years old already with one divorce. Wow. Male, female, broken families, kids in between. I'm telling you, it's been I just came here and just hearing people asking questions. And that human connection of marriage, which is very, very important, it's falling apart. And kids are growing up from here to there. Weekends with mom, during week with daddy, and mom and dad are not in agreement in how they want to raise that child. They struggle with that. There are some people who do it well. Congratulations. And I mean it. But there are other people, the majority, I will say, don't have any facts. They are like statistic that I can point out too. But I will say the majority are not doing well because otherwise they work together, So I believe that there is something going on there. And I don't have the perfect marriage yet, but my wife and I, Fabiola, we are working hard to be able to preserve the human connection among us, which we have a lot of distraction because I have my Instagram account. She has her Instagram account. I have my friends. She has her friends. I have my interests. She has her interests.
That's a good time to ask for kind of like a couple advice. How are you guys able to manage that, all the distractions that you guys are experiencing in your marriage?
We're struggle. We're struggling with it.
Okay.
That's the fact.
Okay.
And what I mean struggling with it is we're still finding our rhythm in how to identify how much time is okay to spend on Instagram or how much time we're going to spend on the phone versus hanging out, and how does that look like? So with a busy schedule, doing a lot of stuff, and also coming back home, there is a feeling like, okay, I already did my work. Now I go home, I get to chill, I get to be involved in this. But the truth of the matter is that relationship is so important. So now my wife is pregnant, we're expecting a baby, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So one of the things that my wife have done is that since day one, she said we're gonna go to bed together, and I like to stay up late, and my creative time start right there, and that's been it's been a hard adjustment for me. I need to give in, and I mean, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's what she really wants, and that's what I decided that this is one direction we're gonna go, and it's been helpful for us. And I think that one of the things that is really helping our human connection is that we talk a lot. We talk a lot, and we have been able to talk about my triggers and her triggers, and we have been talking about her ambitions and my ambitions. Since we are recently married, it's been 2 years already, we're still defining our life project, what we're going to do. Now we have to have a conversation about how we're going to raise the children, and how it's going to look like. And she's going through college, and how I support her there. And so the idea is it requires intentionality, going on dates, being creative, and just, yeah. And one thing that has been very, very helpful for us is being going out with couples, like with other couples, older couples, like more experienced than us. They are not perfect either, but they have something to share.
Yes.
And that is that human connection. You have to have your people. You have to have people in your corner. And I think that a marriage is not going to survive by itself. Or like you and your wife, yes, that's great. But also, I believe that it's important to invite wise people to join the journey with you, to pray with you, to pray over you, to share your highs and lows. I believe firmly in human connection. I believe it.
Wow. What would be your advice for those people who believe, they can do it, me, myself, and I have control over my life. No one has to tell me what to do. Like, I know I'm in control. What is your advice to all of them?
I don't know. I don't know if I will give them an advice. I will invite them to process. I will invite them to question how life is going for you by yourself. Just do a quick inventory. How does that look like not to have nobody on your team? How does that look like to fly solo? How does that feel like? When there are certain things that you would like to have the perspective of somebody else on, but you don't have nobody because you are your own God. Because let me tell you something. My wife is the most beautiful woman on planet Earth. I'm not kidding. Like, this is a fact. However, when she look at herself in the mirror, and she look at herself, and she says, I am beautiful, that means something. But when I tell her, honey, you're beautiful, that means something differently. But even when we go out and we get to the store and somebody stop her and say, hey, I really like your hair. Oh, hey, I really like your smile. That's even greater. Ultimately, when we got home, my wife is like, hey, did you see that? That lady says that my hair was beautiful. I said, honey, I told you. He said, yeah, but she said, you might be a little bit biased maybe, but she receiving that validation from another source that is not herself. I think that that's the same example that happens to your own life. You telling yourself you're great, but you're self-doubting that. Because you said, I'm biased.
Yeah. You need other people.
Not other people, but then I will suggest two things there. I will suggest a maker. So there was a maker who made you. And he says you are loved regardless of your wrongdoings. And that is overwhelming. Because that's from outside. Like that's something that you are hearing from your Father, your Heavenly Father. You're hearing that He loved you because He made you and He loved you. And you're hearing from Him that you were created in His image. That He has prepared good work for you to do. And He was the one who equipped you with your gift and with your talents. And He'll love you because He loved you. And that is overwhelming. That is affirming. And when someone is going out through life, hearing the voice of his maker, hearing the voice of the people in their community, that is a voice of encouragement, is a voice of support, is a voice of, yes, you can do it, and is a voice of like, hey, but there is another way. Hey, but this is an advice. Hey, there is a connection. When you go in community, that's overwhelming. That's great. Because life is hard. And then when you go in solo and you experience a success, that's awesome. But who do you share with? When you get to the top of the mountain, who's going to be there? Alone? You yourself and you again? Really? Is that fun? Is that happiness? Well, good luck with that. But then imagine if we can go together. I'm not saying that if you are single, you have to get married. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, hey, if you're a human being, you're able to hear my voice right now. Maybe you are able to see. Maybe you only can listen to it. I'm telling you, it takes a village to raise a child. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, let's go together. And I think that since the beginning, God didn't create life to be lived by itself. He created life to be lived in community. And the proof of that is that after a while, after He have made Adam, He says, you know what? It's not good for man to be alone. And He was the one who created a suitable helper to him. And it's interesting to me that was no Adam who gave God the idea. I said, hey, God, you know what? I feel bored right now. I think you should come up with something, I don't know, but I don't have an idea, but you can do something for me. He was not the one. But God, in His wisdom, in His mighty power, He's like, you know what? Man needs some help, and I will find it. And He bring the woman to Him, and it's amazing what happens there, that they are able to procreate and just to reproduce. And since that beginning, people are reproducing, people are getting married, and communities are being built, and stuff has been developed. But it takes people. We need people. And we need more people coming together to do great things for the glory of God and the welfare of human being.
Thank you so much, my dear brother, Erick Benjamin Sede Eduardo. Thank you for being here today. And I'm very proud of, where you are in life. And I know the Lord knows where you're headed. So I'm very happy for you. Thank you for being here today.
Appreciate that, Rishi. And I wish you all the best. And may the Lord continue blessing everyone listening to the sound of my voice.